Know Your Rights, Creating Community Connections is brought to you by a community service grant provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, and welcome to Know Your Rights, Creating Community Connections. This is a special presentation of Network Knowledge, your public television station. I'm your host, Mark McDonald. We're in the First Church of the Nazarene in Springfield with a live audience and a panel of very experienced individuals who share an intense interest in a topic that has torn some of our nation's communities apart in recent months. In Ferguson, Missouri, and Baltimore, Maryland, those communities descended into chaos because of altercations between the police and black men. One of our panelists, Bob Moore, a retired U.S. Marshal, brought a video to our attention. It's titled 10 Rules for Dealing with the Police. After we watched it, we thought we might be able to use this video in a setting like this to keep disasters like Ferguson and Baltimore from happening here. At the very least, we thought, we'll have started a discussion on some possible solutions to a very thorny issue. We're going to watch this video together. Then, during the breaks, our panel and our audience will have a chance to comment. Our panel consists of Tony Williams, the owner of Custom Training Consultants. They train police officers. Springfield Mayor Jim Langfelder. Robert Moore, retired U.S. Marshal. Lymene Argelinas, retired Colonel, Illinois State Police. And Austin Randolph, retired Deputy Director, Illinois Department of Corrections. Now, let's watch part one.
I move like the city, where them skyscrapers stand. I move like the city, with the money rubber band. I move like the city, where everything's fast. I move like the city, and car lights fly. I move like the city, where them skyscrapers stand. I move like the city, with the money rubber band. I move like the city, where everything's fast. I move like the city, and car lights fly. Hey yo, my neighborhood is like a video set. Cameras move slow when the street get wet. Shake 'em up, roll money down, it's a bet. G's on the set, throw it up right to left. I move like the city, so the streets come with me. Back pocket whiskey, keep me all pissy. Street thoughts got a feeling like a seesaw. Up, down, back up, I need to see more. The lean so mean, the gear all clean. Left arm up, steering the machine. Eyes in the rear view, gotta keep a clear view. When that money talk, the block gon' hear you. Ride with a rider, it'll be die-yada. Every ass a movie, the script got drama. It's so great, so your boy.
Good evening, my friends. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Billy Murphy, and we're going to talk about how to deal with the police. I've been a judge, but I'm best known as a criminal defense lawyer. I know how the law works, and I know that for many people, the law sometimes doesn't work. But I'm going to show you how to make the law work for you. I see how the choices my clients make have a massive impact on the outcomes of their police encounters, even if, and especially if, you've done nothing wrong. There are lots of good police out there doing what needs to be done. And I don't need to tell you that there are also few too many cops who don't respect the basic rights of innocent people. But you don't get to choose who you're dealing with. And even the nicest cop will use your mistakes against you. That's precisely why every citizen, every one of you, must possess the tools to confidently assert your rights if you have to. By the show of hands, who's here because either you, a friend, or a family member has been on the business end of a bad police encounter? Then you're in the right place. Who's got a story they want to share with the class? What's your story?
I got hassled by Highway Patrol the other day.
Tell us about that.
When that money talk, the block gon' hear you. Ride with a rider, it'll be die-yada.
I was ready to explode. This was like the 4th time this year I've been pulled over for nothing.
License and registration?
Yeah, I know the drill, man.
Excuse me?
License? Registration.
No need for the attitude there, bro. I'm looking out for your safety and everyone else's on this road.
Whatever, man.
Okay, step out of the vehicle for me. Turn around and put your hands in the air. Turn around and put your hands in the air.
Gosh, man.
Walk forward, walk forward. Hands on the hood. Hands on the hood of the car. Do it. Spread your legs.
What are you doing, man?
Relax.
I didn't do anything.
Relax.
God, I didn't do anything.
You got a bad attitude. Now, I pulled you over because you were swerving between lanes. That's all. Now, you got a choice here. If you cooperate, you're going to make things a whole lot easier on yourself. Now, what that means is you got to be straight with me. You understand?
Yeah.
Here's the deal. You don't speak unless I ask a question. You understand?
Yeah.
All right.
That hurts, man. That's too tight.
Relax. You're fine. Now, where are you coming from?
College. I'm coming home from college, man.
You've been having problems with gangs moving guns down this highway. You're not packing any Tech 9s in there, are you?
No, sir.
So you don't mind if I take a look?
Go ahead.
All right, Darren, you just relax and don't move. All right, stand up. Stand up. Walk back with me. Keep walking. Keep walking. All right, have a seat. Have a seat, Darren. Now cross your legs. Cross your legs!
And when that cop was done roughing me up, he made me sit there like a dog while he ripped up my car. I've got nothing to hide, but that's disrespectful.
All right, you sit tight.
I sat there forever while he hung out in his car.
All right, Darren, stand up. Stand up. Turn around. This is a citation for excessive lane change. You take care of this as soon as possible. Sign that. Sign it. Here's your copy. Get your off my road.
That cop profiled me. It's ridiculous. I go to school. I'm not a gun trafficker.
I know exactly how you feel, man. That's why we're here. It's certainly possible you were profiled, but it's practically impossible to prove that. You never know for sure what's going on in an officer's head. I hate to say it, but from what I hear, it sounds like you broke the first rule of dealing with the police. Always be calm and cool.
Hold up, are you saying that he deserved to get treated like that?
No, what I'm saying is a police encounter is absolutely the worst time and place to vent your frustrations about police. Getting stopped by police is always frustrating and scary, but you could have played it much smarter by being calm and cool. As soon as you opened your mouth, you failed the attitude test.
License and registration?
Yeah, I know the drill, man.
Your attitude only got worse.
Whatever, man.
Don't ever talk back.
Step out of the car.
Don't ever raise your voice. Don't ever use profanity with a police officer.
Turn around and put your hands in the air.
Being hostile with police is stupid and dangerous. You can't win that game on the street where they're the king. Police have a dangerous job. Even the most professional officers might become aggressive if they feel threatened or if their authority is challenged. Always control your words, the tone of your voice, and your body language. If you're visibly scared and angry, it's easy for an officer to get scared and angry too. Things could have turned out way worse than they did.
Now! On your stomach! On your stomach!
Can you think of a better way you could have greeted that officer?
Good evening, officer. How's it going?
That's better. Calm and cool.
Hold on. What's all this polite talk? They don't respect us, so why should we respect them?
For real.
This isn't just about respect, it's about common sense. If you don't check your ego at the door and you let it take control of you during a police encounter, you'll regret it every time. Following the rules doesn't guarantee that the police will respect your rights, but they can keep you from digging yourself into a deeper hole. Let's talk about what your rights are in the first place. This is the Bill of Rights. These are the first 10 amendments that were added to the U.S. Constitution after it was ratified in 1789. These rights are protected under federal law, which means everything we're talking about today applies in all 50 states. There are 3 amendments in particular that protect your rights during police encounters. The 4th Amendment states that the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. The 5th Amendment states that no person shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. During a police encounter, the smartest way to take the 5th is just to keep your mouth shut, because you always have the right to remain silent. We'll talk in a minute about how this works. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. So if the police interrogate or arrest you, asking for a lawyer is a good way to assert your right to remain silent.
Lawyer up.
That's right. Regardless of what you have seen on TV, police don't usually have to read you your rights, even if you're arrested. So it's up to you to make sure that you understand the law and make smart choices. If police flag you down, pull over immediately, turn off your car, and place your hands on the wheel. The police like to see your hands for their own safety, so wait until they request your paperwork before reaching for it. At night, it's also a good idea to turn on the interior light so that the officer can see you're not armed. Darren, do you see any ways you could have handled yourself better?
Good evening, officer. How's it going?
Did you know you were swerving between lanes?
No, officer.
Let me see your license and registration.
Sure. My license. Here's my registration.
Now, Darren, we've had some problems with gangs moving guns down this highway. You're not packing any Tech 9s, are you?
No, sir.
I didn't think so. So you don't mind if I take a look, do you?
Officer, I know you're just doing your job. I don't have any guns or whatever, but I don't consent to searches.
Perfect. Rule number 3, you have the right to refuse searches. This comes directly from the 4th Amendment. For your 4th Amendment protection to legally apply, you must be prepared to clearly state your refusal under pressure. Everyone repeat after me. I don't consent to searches.
I don't consent to searches.
The officers can't hear you, so say it again.
I don't consent to searches.
One more time.
I don't consent to searches.
You a law student or something?
So if I show that I know the rules, he might think I'm a law student. Or maybe I got big legal connections.
Perhaps. But don't get carried away by saying stuff like,
I know my rights, Get out of my face! I'ma sue you!
Never tell the officer you know your rights. Show the officer you know your rights by asserting them calmly.
You seem nervous. Is there anything in this car I need to know about?
No, officer.
All right. Please step out of the vehicle.
Police may legally order you out of your vehicle, so you should comply.
Walk back here with me. Stand right here for me. Now, you got two choices. You can make this better or worse for yourself. Now, if you cooperate, it's going to make things a lot easier on you.
Beware
Understand?
that the police may legally lie to you, so never let false threats or promises trick you into waiving your rights.
Now, if you don't, I'm going to call up a K-9 unit, and those dogs are going to rip apart your car. They're going to find what you're hiding. So what's it going to be?
Refusing a search request is not evidence of guilt and doesn't give the officer the legal right to search or detain you. Don't get tricked. Unless you're detained or arrested, you may terminate the encounter at any time, but don't wait for the officer to dismiss you. Simply ask if you're free to go.
Darren, those dogs are going to rip apart your car, and they're going to find what you're hiding. Like I said, what's it going to be?
Officer, are you detaining me or am I free to go?
Good. This line can help withdraw you from an encounter. Saying you want to leave establishes that the encounter is not voluntary, which could help you later if you end up in court. Let's practice that line. Everyone repeat after me. Are you detaining me or am I free to go?
Are you detaining me or am I free to go?
One more time.
Are you detaining me or am I free to go?
All right. You want to play it like that? You want to bump it up to the next level? Fine. You stay right here. Don't go anywhere.
Asserting your rights won't make the police love you, but it might make them extra cautious about violating your rights.
Darren, this is a citation for excessive lane changing. Take care of that as soon as possible.
Thank you, officer.
I understand refusing a search doesn't make me guilty, but if I'm doing nothing wrong, why don't I just let the police search me and get it done with?
You have the right to let police search you. You also have the right to refuse. The choice is yours. But there are some reasons to think carefully about this. The officer isn't your butler. Searches can get real messy. If they damage anything, you might not be compensated because you agreed to the search. Besides, you never know for sure what a careless person, relative, friend, previous owner might have left in your car at some point. If the police find any illegal items after you consent to a search request, you can be arrested even if you had nothing to do with it.
You have the right to
Consenting to a
remain silent.
search request automatically makes the search legal in the eyes of the law. And the Fourth Amendment doesn't require officers to tell you about your right to refuse. So if you're pulled over, don't try to figure out whether or not the officer has probable cause to legally search you. You always have the right to refuse searches.
I don't consent to searches.
But they're gonna search us anyway.
Sometimes they will, but saying no isn't just about stopping the search. It might stop the search or it might not.
Cross your legs.
The point is that refusing the search could help you later if you end up in court. If the police search you without consent, your lawyer can challenge that. As your attorney, I'd be much more likely to win your case if you said no to the search.
If I do not consent, when are police allowed to search my car? You mentioned probable cause. What does that mean?
Probable cause means police must have clear facts or evidence to believe you're involved in criminal activity. In other words, an officer's hunch without evidence of illegal activity is not enough to search or arrest you. But it doesn't take much. Most avoidable police searches happen not because police have probable cause. They happen because people get tricked or intimidated into consenting.
So an expired registration isn't probable cause to search my car?
No, it's not. But you still gotta be careful. Courts are eager to uphold police searches, so something suspicious about you or your car could be considered probable cause. I'm not the kind of guy to tell you how you should express yourself, Expressing yourself is one thing, but exposing yourself to police by being a public nuisance is ignorant.
Everybody knows who I roll with.
Rule number 6, don't expose yourself.
Now, this scenario was meant to instruct and educate and give information, but why am I feeling so tense then? Does everybody feel really tense? Like, oh God, what's going to happen next? Tension? Tension on the panel? Mr. Moore,
Yes,
you brought us this video. You probably watched it dozens of times. Does it still make you tense?
I have watched it numerous times, and it still brings a little bit of chill up my back to see the things that can happen. But it's also good to know that we can show a better way of doing things, and certainly hope that the film that you're helping us with will help us to stop these confrontations that are going on in the street. And I think that I'll give you a true story. I had a call today from a father from East St. Louis, and his son was driving up here, or his brother was driving up here in Springfield, and he got stopped for speeding and for not having a seatbelt on. And they wound up finding a gun in the car. And the guys are still in jail. Just exposing yourself to different things that you should not be exposing yourself to. One of the rules. And if we can teach these 10 rules to the public, I think we can stop a lot of things that are going on.
Mayor Langfelder, you have more than 200 police officers that work in the department. There's no way that we can stand here tonight and say that there's probably 1 or 2 in there that are conducting this kind of disrespect for individuals. But is there a way to, as a chief executive yourself of a large department like that, is there a way to sort of get to this problem?
Yes, it starts from the hiring process. You want to hire the right individuals to serve as police officers or any department. We are a customer service entity. A lot of people might not see it that way. I came from banking, and I see everything as customer service because that's when I was in sales. That's what's important, is how you treat individuals that you're dealing with. And even though in this situation it's enforcement, you still have to treat everybody with respect, and you treat them the same way across the board.
Let's talk about, I think what you're saying is people who can be recruited, who have people skills.
Right.
Tony Williams, you train police officers. Can you train people skills, or do you have to recruit people skills?
Well, unfortunately, you can hire a person on how they present themselves, but really never understand what their heart is. And so I can give people information, but whether they use that information for a positive outcome is a whole different issue.
Lyman Argelinas, your operation, the Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police, you also train. Do you concentrate on that sort of thing?
Absolutely. As far as, and I believe this was somewhat over-dramatized regarding this situation. There may be 1% of the officers that may act like that, but going along with what was said, we try to recruit the best possible people we can for this, people who have people skills. At the same time, we do a lot of training. And as an example, at the Illinois State Police Academy, someone acting like this would be disciplined for what they were doing, because as a trooper, when I stopped the car, I knew that 90% of the time it was a good citizen who made a minor traffic infraction. And so when I approached, I would be as courteous as possible. Good evening, sir. My name is Lyman Argelinas with the Illinois State Police. You failed to stop at the stop sign back here at the intersection. That's the reason I've stopped you. May I see your driver's license and proof of insurance? And that's the way we would handle it, and that's the way we want it handled. We want them to be as courteous as if they were the ones that they were being stopped. How would you like to be treated if you as a police officer were being stopped? And so that's the way we approached it. And if someone gets treated like that, then I would hope that the individual would file a complaint with the police department. We would investigate all complaints. We would take a look at it. And if the officer needs additional training, then that would be the situation. If the officer brought some family problems to work that evening, we'd have to deal with that too. So, but I think you're right, you have to hire the right people at the same time that have people skills and do training that they understand that they have to be, they're public servants and they have to be as courteous as possible in dealing with these situations.
Mr. Randolph, anything to add?
Yes, I always try to tell young people or anyone, take a few seconds and relax. You don't want to escalate the situation. The key is to de-escalate it and maintain some self-control and respect and be polite. Answer the questions. Hopefully the officer will return that courtesy, and then hopefully you won't get a ticket or a citation. But the key is not to be nervous.
This young man in the video, he didn't follow Rule 1, which was be calm and cool, and the officer didn't follow Rule 1 for the officers either, I'm sure. What about the audience? What observations do we have from the audience? Anybody want to pipe in? Any reactions to what we just saw? Marcus, come up to the microphone, will you? I saw you taking notes out there.
Yes.
Come on up. And if you would, state your name when you get to the mic, will you?
My name is Marcus Lucas, retired Illinois State Police, various duties with Illinois State Police.
Go ahead, Marcus.
Again, Marcus Lucas, retired Illinois State Police, and I've had various positions with the Illinois State Police. But one of the questions I have or comments, and I was waiting for the panelists to say something. I've also spent time in internal investigations, and I agree with him. One of the things, Illinois State Police, we take complaints very seriously to the point where we have it listed on the website on how to file a complaint. Does Springfield have that? Because in my opinion, in an attempt to show your community that you're open, you make it available to file complaints. Does Springfield have a process, or can you advise what our process is to formally file a complaint? Because 1% of the officers might do something bad, but we want to make sure we get that 1% off the street. How do we do that here?
Usually what you would do is, well, a lot of times they contact the alderman because they wouldn't feel comfortable in going to the police department. But the other option is we do have a citizens review panel, but from what I gathered from the general public, that's not working like it should. And so that's a process that we're going to review with any type of issue, not only with the police department, but any department. Usually will come to the department head, so in this case it'd be the chief. But that's something that we're going to take a look at as a better way to make sure that everybody's heard. And you have to, if it's a perception, we need to change that perception, or if it's a reality where the issue, you know, is real with regards to mistreatment in this case, we need to make sure proper action is taken with regards to the individual employee that did the mistreatment.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the audience want to ask anything? Any observations? Yes, sir. Would you state your name to the microphone?
Reverend Martin Woulfe. As I watch this for the second time, it is emphasized to me that the onus or responsibility for de-escalating the situation is squarely put on the civilians' shoulders. And I seem to remember a time when I was younger when the officer in question had much more responsibility and perhaps training and could be relied upon to lead the situation, to guide it, to de-escalate. And so I'm wondering, am I just remembering a fictional youth, or have things actually changed?
No, sir. In regard to that, we do training for the police officers on conflict resolution, so that if they do come into a situation where there needs to be some de-escalation, as you mentioned, the officer should take steps too to realize this individual is upset because they're getting stopped in this situation. They may misperceive what's happening here. They may think that they got profiled, those kinds of things. And so it's important for the officer to also utilize the conflict resolution training that they've had to calm the individual down. And I know I've had some of those situations where I stopped somebody and the violator used profanity against me, saying that I stopped them for this reason or that reason, which was not true at all. And so you have to, the officer has to step back for a second and take a moment to calm themselves down, and then also to de-escalate the situation. I think that what Tony brought up too, there's a good point there, was that I believe police departments should have a anonymous tip line where a person can call in anonymously and say, I've been mistreated, I don't want to give information about myself. And we did that in the state police. People could call up, and we investigated every one of those because you want to be sure what occurred out there. And I think with the use of in-car cameras today, that's a great help. The new law that now allows us to use body cameras, although I think that law is too strict in some areas, and probably the police departments will not go out and purchase body cameras because of that. But I think, and I know there's police departments in Illinois that do not have a tip line that they could call in. They'll tell them, no, you have to come to the police department. You must personally come and file the complaint. And we think that that's the wrong practice, that needs to be changed. It's that people could, if something happened and they don't want to run into problems, or there may be other things that if they do come into the police station, they might get arrested for something else. But so I think that's another thing that the retired state police officer mentioned that I think is very important that police officers adopt that practice.
Mayor Langfelder, about the tip line, does that have a future, you think, in Springfield?
Most definitely, and it's finding the right place. In this instance, it'd probably be our Office of Community Relations. They're there to usually deal with housing issues, make sure that rights are being followed. So that's where I would foresee this type of tip line being put in place. The other thing is we can put all the measures in place that we want, but we need to make sure that we communicate it well with the public, because if the public's not aware of what's available or where it's available, it's kind of a moot point. But that's what's been helpful about round one of this, and now round two is picking up the insights of experts with regards to how to deal with these situations.
Okay. Now we talked about calm and cool, rule number one. Rule number two, remain silent. That's one that very few people doubt is going to work for them in a police stop. Tony?
Well, earlier I heard someone talk about the class's conflict resolution, how to deal with difficult people. Once we get to the point where we're having these kind of dialogues, where we're sitting down and we're talking about there is a problem, because what has happened in the past is that this was something that we didn't have conversation about. And now within some of the police forces that I've had the opportunity to talk to, we've actually sat down and started talking about why are we getting so much negative feedback from the public. And the majority of police officers are trying to find a way how they can go about changing that. But once, when we talk about the whole nervous thing, most people that anytime they have an encounter with a law enforcement person, whether it would be whatever, that would be a policeman, correctional officer, whatever, anyone wearing a uniform, always heightens that. That's one of the reasons why uniforms are so effective. Officer presence in itself usually gives people that impression of, okay, I have to straighten up, I've done something wrong. And so once we can get past that very first thing of that fear and start dealing with what the real problem is. I mean, that whole communication thing is where really the problem starts. How I perceive what you're going to do to me and how I perceive how you're going to act towards me. So now that we've had these conversations, I think things are starting with the dialogue that we're having. The hierarchy within in law enforcement are looking at it, and it's a very serious thing. the public interest in it and the committees that have. I'm from Jacksonville, and I know that as an alderman, when they have an encounter with a police officer, people are very easily talk to me and say, hey, this happened. Because we have that kind of open policy with the chief and the police officer, we can go and talk to them. So I think that we're working in the right direction, but I think that's still that conversation that we really need to have, that one-on-one, that bridging those fears. We really need to take care of that first.
We'll have more with the panel and the audience in just a moment. Now on to part 2.
Mr. Murphy, I appreciate you being here today talking about constitutional rights and all, but in my hood, police don't care about nobody's right. They do whatever they want.
Tell us more.
The other day, I was leaving my building on my way to work.
Ajá, ahorita, yeah. En 30 minutos llego. A las 5 dentro, chequea el schedule. Simón, ahí te caigo. No voy a llegar tarde. Vos pues, ok, va.
You, let me see your hands. Put them on the car. Spread 'em. Where's the dope, man? Come on, give it up.
I ain't got nothing.
Let me see your pockets. Pull them out. Your ID?
Got an ID here.
Run that, please. Let me see your hat. I seen you coming out of there.
Yeah, that's a known drug spot.
It's my home. That's where I live at.
You go to school? Or you working?
I work at a restaurant. That's where I'm going.
He's clean. Get your stuff.
Thank you for your cooperation. You stay out of trouble.
This is not the first time. It probably ain't the last. That's how they do around here.
I'm not surprised. In cities across the country, these stop and frisks are occurring at record rates, especially in low-income communities of color. They happen so frequently they seem perfectly normal to you.
Yeah, that's how they do.
This might be common, but that doesn't make it right. In fact, it sounds like those cops searched you illegally.
Let me see your hands. Put them on the car. Spread them.
If police have reasonable suspicion to believe you're involved in a crime, they're legally allowed to detain you for a short period of time. Reasonable suspicion requires less evidence than probable cause, but it basically means the officer has some specific reason to believe that you're up to something. For example, police can legally stop someone who matches the description of a criminal suspect. A suspect who drops a suspicious object after seeing the police, or someone who runs away after seeing the police. Don't ever run from the police. That's part of what the officers can use for probable cause, and they'll run you down and make you regret it. But if you see police approaching, be calm and assert your rights if need be, but don't run. If they have reasonable suspicion to detain you, police may pat down the outside of your clothing to check for weapons, but only if they have a basis for suspecting that you're armed. If they feel a hard item that might be a weapon, the police may pull it out of your pocket to check it out. Police may ask you to show them what's in your pockets. Remember, you don't have to do it. Emptying your pockets is the same as consenting to a search, and you always have the right to refuse. In your case, there appeared to be no basis to justify their stop and frisk.
It happened so fast, it was over before I even knew it. What could I have done different?
You don't have a lot of immediate options here. If police detain and frisk you, you have the right to clearly state your refusal to the consent to the search.
Officer, I'm not resistant, but I do not consent to searches.
But you should only verbally refuse, never physically resist. Never. Just touching a cop could get you tasered or beaten. You could also get charged with felony assault.
Face forward.
Sometimes people get in trouble for merely standing near others holding contraband or if it is found nearby.
Look what we have here.
Police may try to get you to snitch on yourself or on others, but remember that police may legally lie to you, so don't get tricked into waiving your rights.
We know you bought this weed. That makes you part of a drug conspiracy. Now you give up your supplier, or else we're gonna charge you as an accessory to drug trafficking.
I'm going to remain silent. I'd like to see a lawyer.
I'm going to remain silent. I'd like to see a lawyer. If you're being interrogated or you're under arrest, these magic words are your best legal protection. They're kind of like a legal condom. Say them with me.
I'm going to remain silent. I'd like to see a lawyer.
I seen you drop this, man. Just admit it's yours. It's a slap on the wrist. You make things difficult for me, and I'll charge you with possession and evidence tampering. That's a felony.
Don't get tricked. You know what to say. If police pressure you to snitch, you need a lawyer. Use the magic words.
Officer, I'm going to remain silent. I'd like to see a lawyer.
But remember, just because you ask for a lawyer doesn't mean they have to stop questioning you. If you keep talking, your words might still be used against you, so shut your mouth until you've seen a lawyer.
But when do you actually get a lawyer?
That depends. If you keep your mouth shut, you might not even need one, but if you're arrested and charged with a crime, you need help. If you can't afford a lawyer, one will be appointed for you by the court. The point is that you can't talk your way out of a police interrogation without a lawyer. That's a big mistake. Almost anything you say to the police can and will be used against you in court.
But what if the police try to make you sign a confession or something?
Don't sign anything without a lawyer, and don't rely on the police to explain what it says. Read it for yourself. Usually, the only document that's safe to sign is a promise to appear in court.
What if police come up to me just asking for ID?
Hey, hold up, man. Let me see your ID.
Carrying an ID is required when you're driving, but there's otherwise no law requiring you to carry an ID. But in some states, police can require you to give your name if they have reasonable suspicion to believe you're involved in criminal activity.
How do you know if police have reasonable suspicion?
Remember, police need reasonable suspicion to detain you. So one way to tell if they have reasonable suspicion is to ask if you're free to go.
Hey, hold up, man. Let me see your ID.
Excuse me, officer. Are you detaining me or am I free to go?
Just want to talk to you, man. What's your name?
Are you detaining me or am I free to go?
I'm not detaining you, man, but...
I promise I'm clean.
What's your
Don't
rush,
got time
man?
to chat. Gotta go.
What if they don't let me go?
Then you're being detained because the officer thinks there's some reason to suspect you of a crime.
Let's see some ID.
Excuse me, officer. Are you detaining me or am I free to go?
Turn around, put your hands up on the wall.
In that situation, you could be arrested if you refuse to reveal your identity. Technically, police can't make you identify yourself anytime they want. But on the street, withholding your identity frequently leads to a detention or even an arrest. If your goal is to just get the encounter over with, then identifying yourself might be your best option. But if you're prepared to fight things out in court, you can flex your rights by refusing to cooperate with random ID requests.
You say those police broke the rules searching me like that? What am I supposed to do? Call the cops on them?
Listen, fighting back against police misconduct is never easy, but it gets easier if you know your rights and if you act appropriately.
What do I do? File a complaint? Does anyone read those?
Oh yeah, they read them for sure. There are lots of bad cops who are off the streets because they get too many complaints. Cases of severe police misconduct can result in major lawsuits that change the way the police behave. I know that because I filed my share of them successfully. Here's what you need to know about reporting police misconduct. During the encounter, pay close attention to details. Remember the order of events. Remember as much as you can about the officers. What did they look like? What were their names? What were their badge numbers? Although you should never ask them for their badge number, that means to them you're about to make a complaint, and boy, does it get bad for you if they know that. So never tell them you're going to make a complaint against them. Remember the exact words that the officer says.
Where's the dope?
I ain't got nothing.
Come on, man, give it up.
As soon as you can, get everybody together who saw or heard anything about the incident. Sit down with them together. Listen to their recollections. Use whatever device you can to collect your thoughts. The longer you wait, the less you will remember.
There's a black cop and a white cop.
Put him on the car.
And try to find other witnesses if you can. You'll need this evidence later.
Reaching in the bag, man.
If you were injured during a police incident, make sure somebody photographs you at your worst as soon as possible. Make copies of any relevant hospital records. If you're thinking about responding to a police misconduct incident, visit flexyourrights.org to learn more about your options. Don't be discouraged just because you've heard about police abusing their power and getting away with it. Now that you know your rights, you've got more power to demand accountability.
Now, this is a good time to say that this is a depiction. It may be reenactment, it may be fiction, we don't know. These police officers obviously are in the wrong, but that doesn't mean that police officers act this way routinely. And we want to bring out very, very forcefully that this is not every police officer exchange with a citizen. But these things probably do happen. In fact, some of them may have happened to some of you in the audience. If they have, we'd like to hear from you if you have any response to any of this. As far as our panel, this is very interesting. This young Hispanic guy, apparently this happens to him on a pretty regular basis. He's looking for some answers. What about, am I detained? Am I free to go? What kind of response is a man likely to get if he comes up with that kind of language? Anybody want to venture a guess on that?
Well, I would have to say that that is a key issue. I mean, that's something that, and I'm glad that although I believe this is somewhat over-dramatized, on the other hand, there are some good things in this in regard to citizens learning how to, what their rights are and what they can do in one of these types of encounters with a police officer. On the other hand, something like this may happen where an officer believes, and they're using the Terry stop to do a stop and frisk, and it's a situation involving where they thought they saw a drug deal, where they believe they may have gang members who are about ready to exchange gunfire, something like that. There'll be a little more, in those kinds of situations, they won't be quite as courteous, and so they will, being fearful for what might happen to them, so they may take a different kind of a little sterner approach, as you saw here. But it has to be in a situation where the officer knows that they're going to have to articulate what it was that told them that this individual, or what was demonstrated that this individual was committing a crime, had committed a crime, or was about to commit a crime. Takes those three situations. But I'm glad from this standpoint of the program that the public is being educated regarding to their rights, and that they can say that. And as a police officer, if you hear that, then you know, okay, do I have any articulable suspicions here that I can use? If I don't, I better be backing off in this situation. So I think that will make an officer think if they hear language like that about, well, am I free to go or am I not? Because at that point in time, the officer's got to make a decision. Do I have enough to arrest this person? Because if that's what I'm going to do, then you'd better have some probable cause to do that.
What about asking for ID? I know I heard a young black man the other day. I was just talking to him, and he told me that an officer asked him for his ID. He said, I didn't have my ID with me. I didn't know what to do. What should a person do in a case like that? Mr. Williams?
I think a lot of it's attitude. You know, if by chance I'm going to be curt with you, or if I'm going to be hostile with you with any response that I have, then the other person that you're talking to, regardless who that is going to, then that's when that baggage starts coming about. How do I think about this person because you didn't do what I wanted you to do? And that's the problem. all of this baggage that most of everybody carries some part. When we have a time of any kind of confrontation, and if by chance I have authority over you, then what baggage am I carrying with me, and how am I going to treat you after that? Am I going to be fair to you, or am I going to try to make you have a bad day? And personally, my name I used to think was kind of unique, because Anthony Williams, if by chance a police officer pulls me over before I get out of the car, and Anthony Williams comes up on the screen, then there's multiple. And if I'm in Chicago, I better keep my driver's license, or maybe in some instances have my social security number, because there's a lot of negative hits that come off of the name Anthony Williams. So even for me, being around law enforcement for a long period of time, if I'm not in a area of what is that I'm knowledgeable about, and I may not know the officers, when my name comes up as a hit on leads, then I'm going to go, I wonder why you're pulling me over. But going back to how that conversation, how we communicate, and the body language and the things that we do is probably going to be the biggest deterrent, or make that individual react to you in one way or another.
Well, certainly body language. An officer is going to read that first, because that's where the physical threat would come from. So the body language is essential, that calm and cool, right? Calm and cool.
Yes. Well, that goes on both sides. You mimic behavior that you want someone to portray to you, so really you have to put yourself in each other's shoes. And, when I was ever approached by a police officer, it's an individual of authority, just like my teachers were when I was growing up. You always treated them with respect, and they in turn would do that. But if you're not going to show respect, you're not going to get respect. But that should go both ways, with the police officer as well.
Right. The police officer has an added responsibility, though, because not only does he have, he of course has the threat of the use of violence on his side, but he also has a responsibility to protect the people, the citizenry. So it seems to me that it would be his place first to expect respect, to show respect and expect respect. Although the citizenry's got to be there too. They got to be there.
One plug I'd like to make is putting yourself in an officer's shoes. With the Springfield Police Academy, they have open houses, but one thing that's a real eye-opener, if you ever do a simulation where they have a simulator that shows a split-second decision you would have to make as a police officer when you are approached by an individual. And that's really, even though it's a simulator, your heart starts to race, and it really puts you in their shoes with regards to those split-second decisions on what you have to do. So anybody would like to experience that, I would encourage them to reach out to the police department. We can let you know when those would be.
Audience, yes ma'am, would you step up to the mic? Say your name, please.
Jan Draykamp. I just have two comments. My son is now 30, but when he was 16, he had a speeding ticket here and there. And I think I'm trying to remember when he was 16, nervous, on edge. I'm sure he wasn't as respectful as maybe he should have been. So I'm always worried when he was out on the road that maybe his fear and his anxiety would make him, be disrespectful. That was just a comment. The second, I remember from the video of the woman in Houston that we saw a million times. I think she kept asking, why are you doing this? Why am I being arrested? Is there ever a time when you can actually say, what's going on? Why are you searching me for drugs? Or why are you asking me to let you search my car? Is that a legitimate question ever? Or I don't remember that in the rules that you can actually inquire.
Yes, absolutely. You should ask that question. And you have a right to ask those types of questions if you don't understand why the officer is doing what they're doing. And the officer should, of course, respond to those and let you know what the situation. I recall seeing the videotape of I believe it was a South Carolina Highway Patrol officer who was trying to drag this lady out of a car, and she was belted in the car, and she was asking questions, and he wasn't paying any attention. That highway patrol officer was fired for what he did there. So that's a good thing, and that may calm the situation down a little bit more too, to ask those questions. Did I get stopped because there's a roadblock going on, or was a crime committed here, or those kinds of things. So, yes.
If the officer has reasonable suspicion under those circumstances, is he required to tell you what those suspicions are?
He doesn't have to articulate those right then and there. He'll have to do that later in court, should there be a lawsuit or a question about the arrest. But any good police officer, we advise them to go ahead and let that, unless there's some kind of extreme emergency going on where you're in the middle of a domestic violence situation where people are fighting, or where you've got some gangs ready to go at it, then you may want to, it'll take a little time to get the situation under control, but then eventually let them know what happened. And under the new law, in stop and frisk now, we have to, even the officer has to fill out a card that explains why the officer stopped and then frisk that individual. So that's another report that the police officer is going to have to be doing here in the very near future.
Very interesting.
I want to say that in the film here, where we're emphasizing the 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments, I would suggest that you just review those, and it gives you your rights under each one of those constitutional rights. And the 4th Amendment, the search and seizure, the 5th, right to a lawyer, and the counsel on the 6th Amendment. So if you just follow those rules, and you will just about know whether or not you've been violated.
Good advice. Okay, we're going back to the video. Our panel, our audience will be here when you get back.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Murphy, is it legal for the police to go around knocking on people's doors, asking to search?
Unfortunately, yes. Did something happen?
It was last Saturday afternoon. I was in my home relaxing after a long week.
Have you been in an accident? Injured on the job? You need a lawyer with experience, integrity, and a commitment to you, the citizen of this great nation. Call me Boris Krakowitzki.
Who is it?
Police department.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Officer Smith. What's your name?
I'm Karen Stewart. Everything all right? How can I help you?
Miss Stewart, do you mind if we come in for a moment?
1 second.
Me and Officer Jones here are introducing ourselves to the tenants as part of a new home safety program. We're available if you need any help. Miss Stewart, are you here alone?
Yes. My granddaughter lives here too, but she's at school.
I'm sure you know there's been some gang-related shootings in the neighborhood. Well, we're trying to do something to get the guns off the streets, and we're asking folks to help out.
Of course. How can I help?
Well, if you don't mind, we'll take a quick look around to make sure there's no guns in your home you might not know about.
There are no guns in here. Go ahead.
Great. Just sign this form for me, please. I appreciate your cooperation. Miss Stewart, I see you have an extensive book collection. You like to read a lot?
Oh, I love to read. I'm always reading something.
Oh, okay. I love to read too, but between my job and my 2 children, I just don't have the time anymore.
I understand that.
So you say your granddaughter is in school? College?
Yes, She's a freshman.
Oh, wonderful.
Ma'am, I'm gonna search this couch here. You mind stepping up for me? Uh-oh. What's this? Can you tell me about this marijuana I just found on your couch?
What's that?
Don't play dumb. You know what it is.
It isn't mine. I cook for some of the children in the neighborhood. Somebody probably left it there by mistake. I don't know.
You really ought to pay more attention to what happens in your home.
Miss Stewart, I appreciate your cooperation. I hate to do this. Please put your hands behind your back. You're under arrest.
Under arrest? What are you arresting me for? I don't know. It isn't mine.
Miss Stewart, I'm taking you to the station. You can tell your story to the judge.
Turn to your right.
You don't have to do this. No, stop. Stop. The worst part is I live in public housing, and there's a zero tolerance rule. I'm fighting the eviction order now.
Did you all hear that, folks? Remember that the next time somebody tells you nobody ever gets in trouble for weed.
I shouldn't have let them inside.
See, this is how they get you. Police come knocking at your door saying, "Hey there, we've got a new safety program. Can we search your home?" Hell no. You don't have to let them in. Even if the police have probable cause, the Fourth Amendment requires them to get a signed search warrant from a judge to enter and search your home. Unless there's a serious emergency, they can't come in without a search warrant. But they don't need a warrant if you invite them in. When the officers came knocking, Karen could have talked to them outside and closed the door behind her.
Good afternoon, officers. How can I help you?
The chain lock works fine, too.
Who is it?
Police department.
Good afternoon, officers. How can I help you?
Hi, ma'am. Do you mind if we come in for a moment?
Do you have a warrant? What is this about?
No, my name is Officer Smith. This is Officer Jones.
We're introducing ourselves to the tenants as part of a new home safety program. Mind if we come in?
No, thank you. I can't let you in without a warrant.
Again.
I can't let you in without a warrant.
That is your decision, ma'am. But this is just a public safety check. We're not here to get anyone in trouble.
I understand, but I need to see a warrant before letting you folks inside.
Well, ma'am, you have my card if you need anything. Have a nice day.
Take care.
We're clear.
If police come to your door and you don't need their help, you may simply decline to answer the door. Because you don't have to let them in unless they have a search warrant. We've covered a lot today, but we've only scratched the surface. If you want to learn about the 10 rules for dealing with police, contact us at the website, flexyourrights.org. Any more questions?
Like a video set. Cameras move slow when the street get wet. Shake 'em up, roll money down, it's a bet. G's on the set, throw it up right to left. I move like the city, so the streets come with me. Back pocket whiskey, keep me all pissy. Street thoughts got a feeling like a seesaw. Up, down, back up, I need to see more. The lean so mean, the gear all clean. Left arm up, steering the machine. Eyes in the rear view, gotta keep a clear view. When that money talk, the block gon' hear you. Ride with a rider, it'll be thy honor. Every ad's a movie, the script got drama. So bricks, your boy gets busy. Watch how I move like the city. I move like the city. With them skyscrapers stand. I move like the city. With the money rubber band. I move like the city. Where everything's fast. I move like the city. Them car lights fly. I move like the city. With them skyscrapers stand. I move like the city. With the money rubber band. I move like the city. Where everything's fast. I move like the city. Them car lights fly. I move like the city, headlights flashing, black and mild smoking, 2 Dutch grabbing. I write about my life, this ain't rapping. Skyscraper talk, yeah, what's happening? Day player, role player, which type player you? Sex scene, live your dream, caught by the power you. Right queen, wrong king, showing what his power do. Gun spark out the side of a Malibu. I'm not mortal, my city is a portal for life givers trying to grow through the soil. Some talk a lot and that's not loyal. Some birth poor and others birth royal. Chicken spot, corner store, liquor store, church goer. Hope I double up, call me New Ark Noah. Brick City, pretty lights, please y'all get it right. I move like the city, this that city life. I move like the city, with them skyscrapers stand. I move like the city, with the money rubber band. I move like the city, where everything's fast. I move like the city, and them car lights fly. I move like the city, with them skyscrapers stand. I move like the city, with the money rubber band. I move like the city, where everything's fast. I move like the city, and them car lights fly. Working people hustlers, all in together now. Hear my voice, we can shut the city down. Move it, move it, move it.
Okay, far-fetched or realistic? I don't know. I've never heard of a public safety check by uniformed police officers walking up to it and asked to be let into an elderly woman's house, so obviously has nothing going on. But is there a chance in some metro department something like that's going on? There is?
Yes.
What do they hope to get out of that? What are they trying for?
Well, normally they don't do a search like you saw here. Usually they'll just come in and talk with the individual. But does that mean that a police officer, once you allow them to come into the house, I think those are some good suggestions that you want to be careful regarding that. If the officers need to get into a home, they'll get a warrant, or they'll have some exigent circumstances dealing with some kind of emergency situation. But other than that, it's best, like she did, I think, to step out on the front porch and talk with the officers there. Because once you allow the officers in, as a police officer, if I should see something contraband, then I have a right to go ahead and seize it.
Right. In fact, a responsibility, don't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you're not doing anything, don't let them in unless they have a warrant, right? And that's their responsibility to get a warrant if they want to enter your house. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Come on up and respond. And don't let me forget you back there, okay? And state your name, please.
Yeah, my name is Doug Quivy, and I'm a criminal defense attorney. I had a lot of comments, but I'll keep them narrow. First of all, I think a lot of de-escalation can be had on both sides by just people kind of remembering the golden rule and trying to be treated as they want to be treated. But on the other hand, I think the public needs to remember that police officers can legally lie to you. And so it's very important that you understand your rights and very politely refuse them to come into your home, refuse to talk to them, exercise your right to remain silent, and you will be threatened. Well, I could get a warrant, but why don't you just let me go in and then I won't have to do all the paperwork, it'll happen anyway. Well, no, insist on them getting a warrant before they go into your home. Again, very politely. But I think the general public thinks that police officers always tell the truth, but as investigators, they're trained basically to try to get as much information as possible. So I think it's very important for the general public to just firmly, quietly exercise their rights and keep it at that. And if you're going to get arrested, you're going to get arrested. If they're going to get a warrant, let them get a warrant. But go from there, because I think the general public doesn't understand. The other thing I'd point out is I don't think anybody should ever sign a Miranda warning. Exercise your right, don't do it. But a lot of people, I would say 90% of my clients had waved their rights away. So, thanks.
Interesting. Mr. Quimby says the police can legally lie to you, and I don't think people know that. Is that an investigatory trick? Is that why that exists?
Well, the Supreme Court has ruled that police can legally lie to you, because we have a tough job, and sometimes the public demands that we solve crimes, and so we have to have the tools to do that, and sometimes too many officers sometimes will push the button, and if you give that right up, that's one of the strategies of which is used.
Yeah.
So you need to be aware of that.
Good for all of us to know that they can legally do that, and we need to be aware of that. Yes, ma'am. Come on up. We'll be talking later on in this segment while she's coming up about body cams, which are a very important topic now. Yes.
I'm Ashley Murray. My question is, do you honestly believe that this will work?
And the reason why I'm asking is because a lot of minorities feel that if you challenge a police officer's authority, that they will still end up in trouble. This video depicts a lot of the situations de-escalating after the citizens exercise their rights, but in reality, when most people's reality, that's not the case. So I wonder, do you honestly believe that this will work?
Yes, I do. I've had some experiences. I've had some testimony. After we've shown this film, we've had some calls and said, yes, I did that, and I did that, and I went on home. Yes, so it depends, but as the films say, you got to be strong enough to withstand the pressure to give up your rights, and that's what you have to do. And if you feel that you were misused, mistreated, you go back and file that complaint like we've been talking about. So that's up to you, whether you want to give up that right or you want to exercise your rights on those amendments. So yes, I do believe that it will work. If we just have to reach, that's why we're constantly trying to reach as many people as we can. But we also encourage you to stand pat with your rights.
Okay.
The other aspect to hit on that is with regards to community policing. That's one of the emphases that we're putting forward with the Springfield Police Department, and that's about forming relationships with the community. It's all about a trust issue. You know, if there's mistrust going on, we need to tear down those barriers. And about going door to door, I know the Springfield Police Department's gone door to door, and that's part of the reason is so neighbors feel comfortable when they're meeting with officers. And so that's what we're trying to do is kind of break down those barriers and see the police officers that they're, you know, just ordinary individuals like all of us. Tonight, as a matter of fact, there's coffee with the cops where you can just have a normal dialogue with the individual officers, but that's the intent, is to better utilize or partner with the community so they feel comfortable in approaching the police department. And from my standpoint as mayor, it's just not the police department, it's each and every department within city government. We're here to serve the public. So if there's, we're not providing that service or that quality service with regards to any department, I want to hear about it as mayor as well as do the alderman.
All right.
Thank you. Who else had their hand up? Yes, young man.
May I ask?
Go, while he's coming up, go ahead. Mr. Williams, go ahead.
Do you believe that it will change? I guess that's, because that's the question. Do you believe?
The question, do I believe that it will change in reality?
Come on up.
Yes, that's what I wanted to ask.
Come on up to the microphone.
Go back to the mic.
So we can hear what you say.
In reality, it depends on how you just look at it. I'm originally from the East Coast, and I'm definitely from a low socioeconomic status group. And it's very hard when people do not know that they can challenge authority. And like I said, this video depicts that, you know, it's okay and that you can do this, but you do have those officers, that 1% that you said, that aren't good. And what do you say to those people who are constantly having encounters with those officers? So now their depiction of the police department or the police force is all officers are bad. I don't see any good. So it just kind of, do I think it would work? It depends on the approach. Like you said, you want the uniform to not just be that of authority, but you want it to be friendly. So it's just, an upward battle. That's just how I feel. It's an upward battle. It's definitely, especially now in these times with Ferguson and things happen in Maryland, it's definitely an upward battle that everybody has to be willing to fight. But
What are your recommendations to us?
my recommendations would be, I like the idea of the police officers in the neighborhood. I like the idea of the police officers helping young men, and out there showing that they're officer friendly. Not just, I'm here to protect you, or I'm here to get the crime off the streets, but I see you as a person, not as a stereotype. I'm not labeling you, the young man, as a gang member because your pants are low, or because you have on a specific color, or you're listening to certain types of music. I am seeing the individual, not what I'm used to seeing. That's it.
And the other aspect of that is for the residents, you have to have that support mechanism, whether it's neighborhood organization or your neighbors, as well as different organizations, the NAACP, church groups, but they're working in partnership with the city, and that's what we're trying to do with the community policing aspect, is working with the community with regards to tearing down those barriers and building the level of trust. That's what I did in banking, is reaching out to low and moderate income areas, and that's the same thing with the police department and all departments within the city, is how we best can serve everybody within our community.
That's it, community. We don't have community anymore. And so by building that, I think that that's how this will work. Okay.
Thank you. Young man, what is your name?
My name is Russell Moore III. Actually, I've seen this video several times, and every time I watch it, like Mr. Moore said, chills go up my spine, because my opinion on it changes constantly. And what I was wondering about, and just in general, like I've grown, like in my generation, we grew up seeing, you know, the Ferguson or the Baltimore, or like all the other catastrophes and drama with the police and African American males, and just in general, like, how are we supposed to trust you and respect you if you can't even respect others that have the same skin as us or the same color skin as us? Like, how are we supposed to trust you? And we call ourselves the future generation. How can we trust you if you can't even show us a sign of respect without shooting somebody? Like, how can we trust you?
Mr. Randolph, you're a member of the NAACP. You're also a member of NOBLE, which is a group of former black police officers. How do you respond to the young man?
Well, the main thing I want you to know is I always believe you want to go home. You must use good judgment and common sense. If you ask certain questions and you don't get an answer the first or second time, then you need to decide what you will do. You don't want to do anything suddenly to provoke the situation even more. Remember, the officer wants to go home too. He's looking out for his safety. And we talked about, what do? Do you look a certain way? Are your pants halfway down? Are you making certain gestures with your hands? And if an officer thinks you're reaching for something, or you accidentally touch him, certain things may happen or may not happen. You need to think, use good judgment, common sense, maintain some self-control, and don't get mad, don't agitate the situation. If he's not going to let you go and you feel uncomfortable, take a few seconds, count to 10, relax. If your driver's license is in your wallet inside your coat pocket, let the officer know what you're getting ready to do, because people forget this is not TV. This is the real situation, the real world. And you don't want to just reach in your pocket and he doesn't know what's in your pocket, or you reach into the glove compartment and you're in your car and it's dark. He don't know what's in that glove compartment. Safety first. Explain to the officer what you will do before you do it. Ask the question. If he says no, then the answer is no for that moment. Remember, even if you go to the station, you will get your phone call. You are safe. You're not hurt. There's another day to come back and file your complaint. You can go back to your parents. You can get a lawyer. The key is safety, not getting hurt, and not agitating or escalating the situation.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else want to respond to what he said? Yes, Mr. Williams.
And trust, the word trust is earned. It's not something that is a arbitrary thing that we can just give a person. And if our experiences have been negative with any group, and I would say something like this, within a class that I do, I usually ask the people, I said, what comes to your mind when I say executive? What comes to your mind when I say prisoner? What comes to your mind when I say cook? What comes to your mind when I say an electrician? You don't have to tell me, but if you have negative thoughts about some of the things I just asked you, then them are the issues you really have to start dealing with. We can talk about, can't we all get along for a long period of time, but until you have those subliminal things that we carry with us every day, the things that are going to make us make decisions about how I'm going to deal with you, and that's the baggage I'm talking about, that's the scary part, because television depicts it, newspaper depicts it, and we share it with each other. So, trust is.
Mr. Quimby, you want to come back up?
Quibby, yes.
And correct your name if I said it wrong.
My name is Doug Quibby, sorry.
Quibby.
I would like to change the focus a little bit on what do you think law enforcement can do to gain more respect in the community? Because I think after Ferguson, after a lot of this has been kind of one-sided, and I agree with you, as for the safety of everybody, there's certain things we can do. But for instance, I personally think there's stuff that's legal that isn't necessarily good policing, like protectional stops, using traffic laws to try to solve other crimes, and a lot of people, especially people of color, get stopped a lot more frequently than people that are white. There's, I think, different areas in the community are policed different. So what are some of those things do you think that law enforcement practices could change to gain respect in the community going the other way? Because most of this conversation has been what citizens can do. And I'd kind of like to hear your thoughts on how it works the other way.
Okay, good point, good point. Who wants to take that one?
In regard to what law enforcement can do, I think, first of all, there needs to be a lot of training, and which we're doing. We're trying to do even more of it. We have to change certain practices and policies. As an example, when I started in the Illinois State Police in 1969, it was, we were trained that it was okay to stop a black individual in an all-white neighborhood, or vice versa, a white individual in a black neighborhood, because they're only there for nefarious reasons. Today we know that that's not true, that people have a right to be in any neighborhood that they want to, and that before you stop them there needs to be a reason to do that. As far as making traffic stops, I don't think we use those as pretexts to look in the vehicle. I know that when I would make approximately 30 stops during an 8-hour shift, in those cases, I'm going to come across individuals who have suspended driver's licenses, individuals who are intoxicated, individuals who have drugs in the car, and or guns in the car too. So we try to, you come across people in those kinds of situations because the bad people travel in cars also. So that's the reason that, but on the other hand, most of the efforts in that area is for traffic safety, to get the individuals to realize, and I know sometimes I'd stop an individual and say, do you realize you don't have any taillights on your car and it's dark? And they'd say, well, trooper, I didn't know that. What can I do? Well, put your four-way flasher on and continue to drive to another location. And I believe someone else has a comment that they would like to make.
Okay, Marcus, we're going to have to keep it quick, okay? We're down to about a minute, so.
Okay, I apologize. One of my former duties as an instructor at the Illinois State Police Academy. So I'm going to sound technical. Wren versus U.S. does allow pretext stops. We taught that at the State Police Academy. I understand what you're saying, but that's just like saying profiling is illegal. Profiling is not illegal. Everybody should know that. Profiling is a tool. We use it all the time. Profiling with regards to race, sex, and any other identifiable feature is illegal, but we profile every day. We use pretext stops, like the gentleman said. We taught it. The problem comes in is oversight from law enforcement and the command officers is to ensure that those officers are doing what's right in regards to the Constitution.
Very well, thank you very much. Now, time is not our friend right now. We've had about 90 minutes of really good, solid information, and I want to thank the audience for being here and the panel as well. Thank you very much. We didn't get to on-body cameras, but maybe we'll do that next time, huh? Well, this is a start anyway, isn't it? There's a lot to agree on here. The police have to be allowed to do their job, or none of us will be safe. And the community that develops a level of trust and understanding between the community members and the police will be a safer community. So, let the discussions continue. We hope this program has been a benefit to you, your family, and your community. Thanks for watching. Know Your Rights, Creating Community Connections is brought to you by a community service grant provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and viewers like you. Thank you.